Yes, this is probably the number one question I get in my work, even when I'm working with teams not on issues of sexual orientation. I might be there for a race topic and I'll get pulled aside by a coach and they'll say, okay, you got to help me with this.
Hmm.
And, I've thought a lot about this question in the years that I've been working, and I've sought counsel from a lot of folks because this is a really tough question. It's something that a lot of coaches are just recently starting to deal with for two reasons. One being that more and more coaches are coaching just men or just women. So, coaches who've always coached both sexes, have had to deal with dating issues for a long time. Um, but then also because we have more and more student athletes who are coming out at younger ages and are openly gay and lesbian, and want to be able to date. And of course, the people we're closest with are our teammates. So coaches are getting this are encountering this issue more and more, and if they haven't encountered it yet, they know that they will. And so
Hmm.
some folks really want to be proactive. And so this is something, again, that a lot of folks struggle with, a lot of people have asked me about. And is it okay for teammates to date, or as a coach, is it okay for me to discourage relationships on teams? And after a lot of reflection and reading and conversations with colleagues, we've kind of come to the conclusion that yes, it is okay for coaches to discourage relationships on teams as long as it's done with respect and as long as you can explain why, right? It's not because it's a same-sex relationship. If it was same-sex, cross-sex, it doesn't matter. Any kind of relationship can compromise team dynamics.
Hmm.
Friendships can compromise team dynamics. All coaches know that. So when you're laying out, you're kind of setting up your culture or your organizational details for your team for the year. You can say, I'd really prefer that we not have any dating in season, and here's why. Always explain why. Explaining that relationships can compromise team dynamics. What's really important, though, is not to forbid dating, not to ignore relationships, because that's just going to create an atmosphere of fear and distrust and secrets. And that can be just as poisonous to your team dynamics and the team culture as anything else. You want to remember that even if you discourage relationships, you've got to be ready for them to happen.
Hmm.
As we know, relationships happen on teams all the time, and that if they're going to happen, you want to deal with them openly and with respect by emphasizing fairness, reasonable accommodation, honesty, and responsibility to the team. And so you always want to set up kind of expectations for relationships. And again, whether this is cross-sex or same-sex, it doesn't matter. These are kind of the expectations for engaging in, a relationship in a professional way. And this is something that student athletes are going to need as they enter the workplace even.
Sure.
How do we date in a professional setting? And so laying out expectations such as, when they're with the team, they're teammates first. So the team goals are going to come first.
Hmm.
So things to think about are, public displays of affection, what's going to be appropriate within the team context. And that's really something only the team can decide. That might change year to year as your athletes change. I have some that, say holding hands is okay. Some say that kissing is okay. But those are things that you have to decide as a group. Another thing is that really, if athletes are dating, they should not room together when they're traveling to overnight games. That's not the reason for the overnight stay. Is not relationship based. It's team based.
Hmm.
And even when you talk with teams and you ask the players, is everyone okay with this? And they all say yes. A lot of times there's still that one person who kind of feels pressured to say yes, even though they don't really feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And so to honor that, it's important that they not room together during overnight travel. It's important to remind players that when they're dating, they need to leave their personal relationship issues outside the gym and focus on team issues at practices and games. That's what they're there for, their teammates first. They want to avoid being a clique of two. Again, they're part of a team. Even in individual sports, there's team aspects that we need to keep in mind. And finally, and I think the most important is to remind everybody that this doesn't mean that relationships need to be closeted. This doesn't mean that if you're a gay athlete that you need to be, closeted. But it does mean that you need to act professionally when you're with the team. And that's a lifelong lesson for relationships, of all kinds, whether they're professional or romantic, friendships, etc. Is that, if you're going to be in a relationship, how do we act professionally? And I think when you can bring it back to that concept of professionalism, that's something you can set up right from the beginning. In the fall when you're getting your athletes together, we're going to talk about something we haven't talked about before, but we're going to talk about, team dating. And lead into, these are my expectations for team dating. I think that's the good way to go.